This movie is the 2019 version of Aladdin, and here's the clip for reference if needed. Aladdin is a street rat with no parents and a pet monkey. One day he meets Princess Jasmine, who is the beautiful daughter of the Sultan of Agrabah, the city in which this movie is set up in. When Aladdin visits the palace, he discovers a magical lamp that releases a powerful wish-granting genie. Aladdin and Genie start to become friends and team up together to stop the evil sorcerer Jafar from taking over Agrabah. This is based off the 2019 version of the remake of Aladdin. Agrabah is a fictional city. However, it is presumed that with its cultural context from the movies, that is somewhere near Morocco and Algeria, near the River Jordan, since those two are considered the Arabian countries that are mentioned in the movies. But there is also speculation that it is near Iraq and Saudi Arabia. In the scene, Jasmine, Aladdin, and the genie are set out to confront Jafar on his intentions to rule over the Sultan and Agrabah. They also tell how Jafar had Aladdin killed. Unfortunately, he failed, and the Sultan was placed into a deep trance by the magical staff of Jafar, and he was controlled by him. The staff was destroyed by Aladdin, which snapped the Sultan out of Jafar's control.
Now, we have use of language accents. Characters with British accents are portrayed as evil or snobby. This is known in many movies and seems almost stereotypical most of the time, but also helps make the viewer understand more. The accent gives a sense of superiority. For a very long time you have seen people with British accents seem very superior to many others. Also, Jasmine and the Sultan have an elegant British accent, which made her seem sophisticated. Many movies seem to use a British accent as well for the use of sophistication of a character. It also makes the viewer view the character as more sophisticated if they do not speak with a British accent. Aladdin has an American accent which viewers of the movie can relate to, which is very understandable, for the reasoning that the movie was made in America, and majority of who watched it spoke English and were American. Now, examples of this. When Jafar says, "with my own ears and eyes," from 20 to 26 seconds, we can see he was lying when he says it. Also, the accent makes it more mysterious. Another example of this is Jafar speaks slowly and with a deep voice from a minute to a minute and 10 seconds. Emphasis on him being the antagonist, which means he was being very hostile and very rude. The last example is when the Sultan speaks in a dark and deep voice. This showed that he was being controlled and was not speaking normally.
Hello, this is Pirpin. So today I'm gonna talk about convergence in Aladdin. Social linguistics is the study between language and society. In this case, the video clip of Aladdin shows that there are variations between the use of language between characters based on their different social class. To explain the use of language, the character will be introduced. The first character is Jafar. Jafar is the villain in who is Sultan's advisor. He works closely with Jasmine and Sultan. The second character is Sultan, Jasmine's father, the king of the kingdom. The third character is Jasmine, the princess and one of the main characters. Lastly, Aladdin is a kind-hearted thief who is the main character of the movie. Taking into consideration the form of convergence was found between characters. According to Yule in chapter 19, convergence is a way that people adopt talking style but use the same approach. In a general sense, we could see that Sultan and Jasmine are placed in higher social class. Jafar come after, then Aladdin, who is the lowest class. The first point to make is when Sultan, the villain, remained polite with his use of language when addressing Jasmine and Sultan, since they are superior to him. However, we could see that there are changes in Jafar's tone and words when Sultan is put under his spell. For example, Jafar does not speak normally. Instead, he gives command where convergence of social class is not effective to him anymore. Lastly, there is implications on Sultan, where he used to be the leader who calmly and politely talks but become very demanding when under influence of Jafar's spell. This shows that there are social differences between how people use language. It can be concluded that people tend to be more polite to individuals that are superior to them, but aggressive or demanding to someone that are lower than them or under their demand. An example of social linguistics could be shown throughout the recordings. During the interval time of 1 hour and 30 minutes to 1 hour and 35 minutes, Sultan changes from being welcoming to demanding. This shows that social classes in society are not implied, but the level of power does when Sultan becomes evil under Jafar's command. This means that higher authority could abuse their use of words to someone with less authority. An example of Jafar's interaction between Aladdin also shown where he talks rudely to Aladdin due to his low social class. Lastly, similarly to how Sultan talks to Aladdin as a stranger, Sultan was also demanding to his own daughter who he used to be caring with.
There are two types of stereotyping that we have discovered in this movie. First is the male dominating male stereotype. In this scene especially, we saw how the Sultan overpowered Princess Jasmine. In many cases of royal descent, power usually goes to the male first in the family before the female. Other than this scene, the guards in the movie knew to take Jafar's orders more than the princesses, as he was more powerful gender-wise. Another stereotype is the rich versus poor stereotype. As we know, Aladdin was very, very poor. He did not have a home and he did not have parents. This put him at a disadvantage, as Jafar knew the true identity of Aladdin and knew that the Sultan would not have let him marry his daughter if he knew that Aladdin was a street rat and not a prince from some other city. This rich in the kingdom is often looked down by the poor civilians. We can connect the time and place that Aladdin is presumably set in to determine the differences in their language and also way of speaking. Since Agrabah is located near Arabian countries like Morocco, Algeria, and perhaps Iraq, it is also set in another time, and they are assumed to have different accents and language when talking. By using accents, they were able to portray the protagonist and antagonist differently to make it clear to the audience who each one was. Through convergence, the characters had specific roles in the movie that determined how they speak with each other. For instance, the way Jafar talks to his parent is not the way Jafar talks to the Sultan or the princess. Same way with the way Aladdin talks to Abu, the monkey, was not how he talked to other human characters. Finally, through stereotyping, we saw that there was a big difference in the way genders were treated in this movie. There was definitely a gap of power between the Sultan and the princess and Jafar and Aladdin. This movie saw differences in the way of class as well. People tend to treat rich people way differently in the movie than they treat poor people like Aladdin. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it in the responses. Thank you.